All right, let's jump right into a question that, well, it messes with your head a little bit. It's this paradox at the very heart of Christian grace. If you're completely, totally forgiven, does that mean you have a free pass to just keep sinning? It's a huge question, and it's not new. The Apostle Paul tackled it almost 2,000 years ago, and his answer is pretty mind-blowing. So let's break it down.
So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at two totally different ways of living, which will lead us right into that radical question about grace. Then, we'll dive into this core idea of being dead to sin and unpack it with a really cool analogy about a prince and a frog. And finally, we'll figure out what this all means for us, day to day, and see how it completely reframes the goal to be something way bigger than just not sin.
Okay, first things first. To even start to get our heads around the answer, we need to understand that there are basically two completely different ecosystems for how we live our lives.
On one side, you've got the old way. And look, this is how most of the world operates, right? It's all based on performance. You do good, you get rewarded. You mess up, you get punished. It's all about external rules. And honestly, it usually ends in guilt and just feeling totally exhausted. And your focus is always on your sin. But then there's this new way of grace, and it just flips the whole thing on its head. It's not based on your performance, but on Jesus' perfection. It's not about following rules, it's about an internal change. And the focus? It shifts completely off of you and your mistakes and onto Him.
Now, this new way of grace is so different, so upside down from what we're used to, that it naturally leads to this kind of radical and, frankly, a pretty troubling question for a lot of people.
And here it is, pulled straight from the book of Romans. The thinking goes something like this. Well then, if my screw-ups just end up showing off how amazing God's grace is, shouldn't I just keep sinning? The more I sin, the more grace He can show off. It sounds crazy, but if you follow the logic, you can kind of see how someone gets there.
The answer in the Bible is immediate. It's a flat-out, of course not. But honestly, that's the easy part. The real meat of it, the part we need to dig into, is why not? And the reason, it's not what you'd expect. It isn't about getting punished or losing your salvation. It's something much, much deeper.
See, the why comes down to a complete shift in who you are. The idea is that if you're a follower of Christ, you have, and this is past tense, already died to sin's power over you. It's a done deal, a historical fact in your spiritual life.
So how does that work? Well, it's explained with this idea of being baptized into Christ. And we're not just talking about getting dunked in water here. This is a spiritual reality. It means being so completely immersed, so totally absorbed into Jesus, that when God looks at you, He's not seeing your flaws. He's seeing you through His Son.
And this is a great way to picture it. Think about it. Whatever happened to Jesus, spiritually, is now considered true for you. So when He was crucified, your old sinful self is right there with Him. When He died, you died to the power of sin. You were buried with Him. And this is the most important part. When He was raised to a new life, guess what? You were too.
Okay, I get it. That's all pretty theological, pretty abstract. So to bring this down to earth, there's this fantastic analogy that just makes it all click. It really clarifies the difference between who you are and what you do.
And it all hinges on this one sentence. Listen to this. You're not a sinner saved by grace. You are a saint who sometimes sins. Whoa. Just let that sink in for a second. That changes everything. Your primary identity is no longer sinner, it's saint. And here's the analogy that makes it so clear. Imagine a prince who gets turned into a frog by an evil spell. But one day, the spell's broken. Poof! He's a prince again. Awesome. But that night at the royal dinner table, a fly buzzes by his head and zip, his tongue shoots out and snags it. So, is he a frog again? No way. He's a prince. He's just acting like a frog out of old habit. See, the action doesn't change his core identity.
And that's the whole ball game right there. Your behavior, acting like a frog sometimes, doesn't change your core identity as a prince. In fact, it's the other way around. It's because you are now a prince that acting like a frog feels so wrong. It's completely out of character for who you are now.
All right, so if the answer isn't just gritting your teeth and trying harder not to act like a frog, what's the game plan? What are we actually supposed to do with all this?
That's the natural next question, right? Okay, I get the whole identity thing, but what's my job here? What part do I play in this transformation?
And the answer is shockingly simple. Your one job is to agree with God. That's it. To simply agree with Him. To choose to believe that what He says about you, that you're a prince, a saint, His child, is more true than how you feel, more true than your past, and more true than your occasional frog-like behavior.
This just flips the world's entire script. See, the world tells you your behavior determines how you feel, which defines your identity. But God's way is the complete opposite. It starts with your identity. God establishes who you are. And as you start to agree with that, to believe it, you'll begin to feel it. And when you feel it deep down, living it out just happens. It flows much more naturally.
Okay, let's bring this all home, because this all builds to something so much bigger and more exciting than just not messing up.
Because, let's be honest, if your main goal in life is just don't sin, you're still stuck in that old performance trap we talked about at the very beginning. The focus is still on you and your mistakes, and that's exhausting.
And this really lays out the two different mindsets. The old, wrong question is, how far is too far? Where's the line? And how close can I get without stepping over? See how defensive that is? It's all about you and avoiding sin. But the right question is totally different. It asks, how can I best honor God right here? How can I let this new life inside me out? The whole focus shifts from avoiding a negative to living out a positive.
So the finish line isn't a perfect report card of things you didn't do. The real goal is to live out this new life so authentically that you actually become a source of life and hope for the people around you. The Bible calls it being the fragrance of Christ. What a cool idea, right?
And that's the question we're left with. What's your focus? Is it on the negative, just trying really hard not to act like a frog? Or is it on the positive, on discovering and learning how to live like the prince or princess that God says you already are?